This is the Night Shift Podcast, powered by Black and Gold Banneret, your home for news and analysis from all UCF night sports. The Night Shift starts now.
All right, welcome to Night Shift. Jeff, Eric, Don, and Bryson with you here. We're recording on Tuesday morning. Had a couple things going on to get to, but we're here for you today. We've got a couple things to riff on here for you. We got the crown, the college basketball crown. UCF men's basketball is their season is not done yet. We're going to talk about that. Baseball and softball, sort of a mixed bag this weekend for both programs. Bryson is itching to talk about tennis, and rightfully so. Lots to talk about on that front. And you can follow everything that we're talking about on blackandgoldbanneret.com, the home of UCF on SB Nation. You can also follow us on socials. Hit us up on X. We are at UCF Banneret _SBN. We are on Facebook at Black and Gold Banneret. Also Instagram and Threads at Black and Gold Banneret. And also subscribe to the Night Shift YouTube channel, where some of you are actually listening to this, no doubt. The newly branded Night Shift YouTube channel. Night Shift UCF on YouTube if you're looking for it. So, all right, lots to talk about here on this frigid Tuesday morning. UCF basketball is what we're going to start with, and the men's basketball team in particular. So, not done yet. We got word yesterday that UCF has accepted an invitation to play in the college basketball crown. This is an 8-team. Is that right? Yeah. No, 16-team tournament being held entirely in Las Vegas, going from March 31st. The opening rounds are on Monday, March 31st, and it ends the following Sunday, April 6th. It is now there's you might think, oh, well, big deal, but there's like a lot of interesting politics that have gone into this. And so I wanted to bring Elo in to talk about this. So the deal is for UCF, they're going to be playing Oregon State, 5:30 p.m. Tuesday, April 1st in the first round. The winner plays the winner of DePaul and Cincinnati. Now, here's what I think is kind of interesting about this. We have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 Big 12 teams involved in this. I think we have 4 Big East teams in here as well. We have the Big 10 represented by SC, the American from in the person of Tulane. Also, Nebraska's in this thing. Butler is in this. So Boise State, Georgetown. So some pretty big brands here. Villanova, another one of them, Eric Lopez. And I think what Fox is, now here's the thing. The entire thing is being televised on Fox networks, FS1, and then the championship game is going to be on Fox, 2:30 April 6th, or excuse me, 5:30 Sunday, April 6th, Eastern time. What I think is interesting about this is that Fox and the people who are in charge of this tournament, it's being run by the group AEG, which is they're a pretty big sports management company out in LA. They have they straight up stole the ball from the NIT. The NIT has one Big 12 team participating. It's Oklahoma State. And these guys have just stripped them of any cachet that they had left by getting these brands into this tournament. This is really interesting. What was your reaction to that?
Well, it's college athletics 2025, which is money, greed over tradition. That's where we're at. And that's what Fox smartly did is, hey, they went to all the schools and said, listen, we will pay for your flights. We will pay for your hotels. And if you happen to win the tournament, and maybe, I don't know all the specific details, you get to make money for your NIL. NIT doesn't do that. NIL, you got to bid, host, you got to do a lot of different things. So that's what happened. That's what Fox's idea was. It worked smartly because they realized, hey, if you're a school and you're not in the NCAA tournament, you got to find motives to keep playing. Well, making money would be a motive to keep playing. The reason they're doing it, by the way, the reason this didn't come out till Monday morning, I found out, was They announced this exclusively on their FS1 sports morning show that apparently has Greg Carton in the as one of the hosts.
Carton? Oh my God!
Yeah, that guy, former Boomer Esiason and lackey. Good to see he's out of jail.
Also, former federal penitentiary
resident.
Yeah.
Thanks, FS1. Appreciate that. So that's why we didn't know any details officially until Monday morning, because they wanted to hold it out for now. Why this wouldn't have, I would have personally announced this on the Cowherd show, show that people actually listen to, but that's just me. Nonetheless, it is a smart move for FS1. It's counter programming, and some might be saying, well, why isn't this going to start till April 1st? Well, one of the criticisms of the NIT is that that's going on while the NCAA tournament's going on. Which, let's be real, who's going to be watching the NIT when you're watching the NCAA? That was the counter. Whereas the tournament starting on April 1st, well, that is when the men's tournament will be going on, getting ready for the Final Four. So there will be no college basketball as far as the NCAA tournament is concerned of significance going on during that week. So the theory from an FS1 Fox standpoint and the attractiveness is you will have more eyeballs, in theory, will be going on that week all to yourself versus sharing that with the NCAA tournament like the NIT is trying to do. So, will it work? I think people are intrigued to see if this concept works. I would compare it to, there was a basketball tournament earlier this year in the regular season in November, actually, that was very similar in Vegas, where they invited teams for NIL purposes. That was the one that Oregon beat Alabama in the tournament. Houston, a bunch of other teams were in. And again, Vegas is the draw. It is worth noting that the NIT no longer even has the at Madison Square Garden. It's his home.
Yeah, they haven't gone to Madison Square Garden since COVID. I mean, that ended along. That used to be like, to me, that as a fan, that used to be the draw. I mean, I remember when UCF went to the Final Four. It's like, oh my God, UCF's playing at Madison Square Garden. I mean, that was part of the mystique of it, and that's gone now.
Correct. And so that is why, as a result of all that, plus it's in Vegas, people like Vegas, players might be excited to be in Vegas for a week. That is why programs like UCF passed on the NIT more than likely and chose the crown. And we'll see how it goes. I think everybody's intrigued to see how it all involves, how many people are going to go watch it. Who knows? But that's kind of the story behind it.
The championship game, I should note, on April the 6th, that's the day in between the Final Four and the championship game.
Yeah, it's a Sunday. Yeah. Now, the interesting thing about it is, what time does it say what time the tip-off is?
5:30 p.m. Eastern.
So that's right around the time of the women's national title game in college basketball. So, again, that'll be interesting. And that'll be on Big Fox.
Isn't that on isn't that on the NCAA Women's Championship? Isn't that prime time?
No, that's for now. I think it's regular ABC. Although I think with their speculation, not to get all TV geeky on you, with ESPN and Major League Baseball getting a divorce after this year, there's some speculation that the national title game could be a Sunday night slot as early as next year. But that's their problem. That's their situation over there. But for now, I believe it's ABC.
Okay, you are right. It is on ABC at Amalie Arena in Tampa, of all places. But Sunday, April 6th, the game tips off at 3, the women's game.
So they basically schedule that
after that, right?
Trying to steal some audience that way, which is clever. It's creative. And they're going to put their broadcasters. Tim Brando is going to call the early round action. Gus Johnson's going to call the championship and I believe the quarters and semis. You got Robbie Hummel working with Tim Brando. And you've got, I believe, Jim Jackson will be with Gus. So it's going to be good. They're going to go all out on this. Fox is. And we'll see how this goes. Everybody's going to be – we'll see what the feedback will be afterwards. And we'll see if everything comes through on that.
I want to talk a little basketball about this right now. And, Don, that's why I want to bring you in here. So UCF is playing Oregon State in the first round. Winner plays Cincinnati and DePaul. Hoping we played DePaul. I don't want to play Cincinnati again. And now Oregon State, what is the word on them right now? Because, obviously they're in this sort of not really Pac-12. What do we know about this team? And as they head into this tournament alongside UCF as ostensibly a member of the sort of, well, actually, no, they're in the West Coast Conference officially, but what is their, what is the situation with this team right now?
Well, real quick, if I may, I wanted to add to Elo's point about what he was talking about. If everyone might notice that this field is missing ACC and SEC representation. Why is that? Because the Fox TV deals do not extend to those conferences. So they wanted to bring in conference teams that play favorable to their TV deals. So what do we know about?
There's a brand. Yes, the ACC. I mean, first of all, there was 2 SEC teams that didn't make the tournament, which is hilarious. I believe South Carolina turned down the NIT as well. I don't even think they're playing postseason well. I don't know if LSU chose to play in the NIT or not. I haven't seen the NIT field, but yeah, this is a TV network versus TV network battle that is continuing through that we've seen in college football. So a good point, Don, on that.
Sure. Yeah. And so what do we know about this Oregon State team? Well, they've had quite the turnaround. In 2023-24, they went 13-19. They just weren't really competitive. This season has seen quite the turnaround for this team. They finished 20-12, 15-2 at home, 2-2 in neutral territory. So head coach Wayne Tinkle, though they did not qualify for the tournament, the NCAA tournament, that is, he said, you know what, I believe that the team deserves a postseason. And so here we are. They have 3 double-figure scores in their lineup. They are very, very good on the offensive boards, almost average 10 offensive rebounds per game. They rank 85th in the net. So I think that the competition is going to be pretty close here, given what's happened down the stretch with UCF. I mean, Oregon State was losers of 3 straight. I don't remember if I mentioned that already. So they kind of had a little bit of a downturn to end the year.
Yeah, they were one and done in the West Coast Conference tournament.
Yeah. Their highlight win was over Gonzaga in overtime in January. And then
long time ago.
Long time ago, especially because they were beaten pretty soundly in the rematch to end that month. It's one of those things where what did we see from UCF last week? They had a good Kansas team, not great, but a good Kansas team on the ropes. But for the 3rd time this year, they just could not figure out a way to get over the hump. And it's really going to come down to the health of this team, how much was expended in that loss. Now, granted, you have plenty of time to recover. But the Knights have been laden with injuries, and it's going to come down to how bad does this team really want to try and advance in this and make a statement, or are they going to look at it more as a, end of season vacation with the game involved?
I should note about the NIT, like you were talking about, no schools from the Big East, Big Ten, or SEC accepted invitations. 2 ACC representatives, the SMU and Stanford, both of them won 20 games this year. 1 Big 12 representative, Oklahoma State, who was 15-17. Let's see what else. Anything else of note? No. All right. So, here's the part that I think is going to be interesting to pay attention here. And Eric, I think you can probably speak to this as much, but I want to hear from Don and Bryson on this as well. The NCAA transfer portal, all right, is going to be opening in late March, okay, right around the time of this tournament. And my first thought was, oh man, like, who, there's a long stretch of time here between the end of UCF season late last week and then the start of this tournament. So a lot of lag, right? Number one, is the team going to be fresh? Number two, what do we have to keep an eye on in terms of the portal? If somebody decides, if certain players decide they want to leave and jump into the portal, I would imagine that they would not be available for this tournament, correct?
Not necessarily. I mean, it depends on the circumstances. I mean, sometimes there's schools and players that can agree on, hey, you'll enter the portal after the postseason. I mean, it all varies. The date is a controversial date across the board because remember, you're focusing on the tournament, the Crown. But remember, that is also going on during the NCAA tournament. So teams that are in the NCAA tournament also are dealing with this situation as well. And it's no different than college football deals with the bowl games where guys are opting out or transferring during the bowl season. So it's nothing new. I mean, it's something that a lot of sports are dealing with on that. So as far as who could leave or not, who knows? I mean, as somebody joked with me the other day about, coaches and trying to say, well, there was a football person I spoke to about this last fall, as a matter of fact, about what's it like, the conversation that you have among who could leave. And the answer is, well, anybody could leave. That's the thing. Anybody could leave. So I am sure that the coaching staff has an idea who might be leaving, who's staying, who might be in the bubble. But that will be interesting to see, not just at UCF, but everywhere else, how that looks by the time these teams get on the court in Las Vegas in April 1st.
Yeah. The official dates for the transfer portal window for men's basketball, it opens Monday, March 24th and closes Tuesday, April 22nd. So the tournament's right at the front of that window. Don, what do you think about this? Because, again, it kind of, one of the thoughts that I had was this is kind of like, almost like another one, kind of like one of the reasons why the football guys were saying we don't want to have a spring game. Like, is this just a showcase for like free agency, basically?
Sure, I think that's a a good theory. I think that Coach Dawkins and the rest of the staff will be doing some work behind the scenes, and they will try to use this, hopefully some success in this tournament, to propel the thought process of any potential recruits to come here to Orlando, especially when, they exist in such a competitive conference that we already know where the top tier players are going in this conference. But yeah, this is probably part of the reason why Kansas State declined and Ohio State declined, those middle of the road, big conference teams, because maybe they want to get a jump on this stuff. And maybe, to your point, they look at it like, hey, this is a spring game that it doesn't bear any real weight to us. And so maybe that's what, like, again, a Coach Tang in Manhattan, Kansas is thinking right now is like, hey, I want to get the jump on recruiting rather than being distracted by the tournament. Whereas I'm not sure what's going through Dawkins' head, but maybe he looks at it as an opportunity. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bryson, what do you think? It is obviously, the risk is there one way or the other. Do you think we'll see a full complement out there for UCF when they open up on Tuesday, April 1st?
The interesting thing that I think is add a dimension to all of this, I feel like no one's brought up yet, is the lead time to this thing, because the NCAA tournament obviously is going to get started very soon. The college basketball crown does not start until April Fool's Day. Today is March 18th when we are recording this, so there is going to be a lot more lead time.
Yeah, 2 weeks
for this college basketball crown. That's a lot of time for a guy to mull over their decision to stay at UCF for another year and maybe decide to go in the transfer portal upon it opening. And of course, you said it opens March 24th, right?
It opens April 1. Oh, wait, the portal opens the 24th. Yeah.
Yes. So that's before the crown starts. So
yeah, that's 1 week.
So it is potentially likely that we could see people on crown teams leave the portal, and maybe they'll be available for the crown, maybe they won't. But I think in the case of UCF, with the way that we've seen this team come together, if there are people that have already decided to go into the portal, I think instead of it fracturing the team, I feel like that this could maybe have them go to the college basketball crown as more of a last hurrah type of thing, where they have nothing to lose. Some people are, might be going their separate ways, but this one trip to Vegas, and as somebody who went to New York with my graduate class recently, that trip is definitely a highlight of my life. And then right before that, and then of course it's right before we go our separate ways. I think this UCF men's basketball team could treat going to Vegas together as the same thing, even if there are people that leave the portal.
Last question on this, and I want to go to all three of you guys. Chances UCF can come home with the crown. Actually, looking at the draw, I don't think it's entirely unfavorable. You play either Cincinnati or DePaul. I think UCF is and Cincinnati have a history, of course. Colorado's out there. UCF split with them, possible third round opponent. Tulane, Villanova, and then you get to the final. It's kind of a crapshoot. Several Big East teams out there, but I don't see them having any worse a chance than anyone else. What do you think, Eric?
If did they find any defense the next two, that they haven't had all year, then maybe, sure. Right, Don? Like they defend? I don't know if all of a sudden Vegas draws in the defensive intensity. It'd be hilarious if they did. But yeah, I mean, sure. It's kind of it's tricky. I would kind of describe this kind of like trying to figure out who's going to win a bowl game, who's playing, what's the motivation standpoint. And that's, by the way, for those that are like all critical about the move to play in this tournament, you better not be the same person that's all excited when your football team goes 6-6 and makes a garbage bowl game. All right. Cause that's 10 times worse. So give me a break. Because if we really don't like postseason basketball, then let's get rid of the football. I'll make a deal. Let's get rid of half or a majority of the bowl games, and we'll get rid of the postseason NIT and the crown. Deal. All right. So until then, that's going to be the key is can UCF defend? Because the one thing Oregon State could do, and the reason they beat Gonzaga in January is they could score. So we'll see. 2 weeks to prepare. I do think it's a crapshoot. I think anything can happen. We don't match up with Cincinnati. I don't know why we don't, but that is the one concern there in the next round if you are into that. But listen, like I said, anything can happen. So let's see what happens.
Bryson, you and then Don, last word.
Eric does have a point there. Oregon State is 45th in the nation in 3-point percentage, 13th in the nation in free throw percentage, and 21st in the nation in field goal percentage. So Eric is very much right there. This Oregon State team can score, and with a UCF team that has struggled to defend this season, like if they want to make it out of this first round, then they're going to need to defend things. That being said, the prospect of potentially facing DePaul would be very interesting because these two teams have only ever met one time before, and that was on December 30th, 1990, where DePaul won in overtime. So I'd be very excited to see it.
Chris Holtman,
you weren't even alive back then, Bryson. I mean,
there you go. By the way, Chris Holtman is the new in his first year head coach at DePaul. Has really done a great job there. That was one of the bottom teams in the Big East. Yeah. Got him the respectability. Won a game or two in the Big East tournament. I would do not assume that would, even if UCF got past Oregon State and played DePaul, I would not actually assume that they could beat DePaul on that. In fact, I would probably lean towards DePaul on that.
Don, last word.
Yeah, I mean, to add to their defensive woes points that we've seen for the whole season, really. I mean, let's go back to that Kansas game real quick. So not only is this a team that struggles defensively, they struggle in the clutch. They struggle down the stretch. They started 0-4 in overtime against Kansas from the field. Their only points were coming from the free throw line and two crucial turnovers, one of which came from Keyshawn Hall trying to play hero ball. So when push comes to shove, if you're in a close game down the stretch, is this team going to have the mental fortitude and the wherewithal to lift themselves past their competition? So it hardly starts and stops at the defensive end here. We're going to need to see a lot more in terms of clutch shooting, playmaking, ball movement, the whole 9 yards, guys. So yeah, that it's really going to come down to that. And yeah, we'll see.
Well, listen, you guys know me. I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff. As long as I get to see more UCF basketball, I'm a happy camper. I'm very curious to see who else we're going to see out there for UCF. Who's going to be healthy? Who's going to be sitting out Tuesday, April 1st. And I just want to mention, Saturday, April 5th. It's my birthday, so I fully expect to see UCF out there playing on my birthday. So that's what I would like to see. It's been we've mentioned we've talked through that. So all right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, it's time to talk a little softball and baseball. Catch you up on that. And Bryson has an update on tennis for us when we get back. This is Night Shift.
For all the latest news and analysis from every UCF sport, visit blackandgoldbanneret.com, your home for the UCF Knights on SB Nation. We bring you all the latest news and in-depth analysis from across Knight Nation, from football and hoops to golf and tennis. If you want to stay on top of all things UCF, visit blackandgoldbanneret.com, powered by SB Nation.
We're back here on Night Shift. Jeff, Eric, Don, and Bryson. Time to talk about what's going on the diamond. We start with baseball. And after that midweek drubbing of the Miami Hurricanes, 14-4, it was time to open up conference play for UCF baseball and Rich Wallace. Not an easy task because you got to fly all the way out to Provo, Utah to play the BYU Cougars. And they took 2 out of 3 in this one in rather interesting fashion. All 3 games were decided by 1 run. In descending steps too, by the way. UCF won the first game on Thursday 9-8. BYU came back and won 8-7 in 10 innings on Friday. And then on Saturday, because remember BYU doesn't play on Sundays, UCF got the rubber game 7-6. Knights play Stetson up at Melching Field in DeLand, 6:30 on Tuesday night, later tonight if you're counting, and then are back home for the conference Big 12 opener against Houston Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 6 and 1 p.m. start times if you're keeping track at home. But let's get Don in here to talk about the week, which started. Anytime you beat the Miami Hurricanes by 10 runs, it's a good day. But this conference series at BYU, it broke the streak of, I don't know how many games that UCF had won by at least 8 runs going back to the second South Florida game. But a little bit something different, winning tight games a long way from home in conference has to be a good indicator for this team. I don't know, give us your lay of the land after this week. This was a pretty solid performance, I thought.
Yeah. Well, Miami was a great starting point before their first Big 12 road trip. And not even just being far away from home and starting conference play, they were fighting against the conditions. This is a team that talked about practicing every chance they could in the coldest winter days that Florida could offer, but those don't come close to being in the mountains of Provo, Utah. So, we're talking about a team that has a heated field, guys, so it's like they had to melt the snow off in game 3 just to end the delay, so it's one of those things, though, where this team has been fantastic at the plate. They are second in the nation in batting average, led by Edian Espinal, who's just having a hell of a year.
Yeah. Can I get this in? I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go for it.
Edian Espinal is leading as of March 17th, as of St. Patrick's Day, is leading the country in batting average at 527. The next closest guy, there are 2 guys for Butler, 2 and 3. Jack Maroknik for Butler is hitting 486. Jack Bello of Butler is hitting 485. Espinal's over 500.
Yeah.
This is nuts what he's doing right now.
Oh, yeah. No, he can do it all. He bats well in the clutch. He bats well when he's down in the count. These are not, fraudulent numbers here. This kid is truly doing it all. And the team as a whole has just been fantastic. So let's look what happened in that Miami win in the 14-4 route before the road trip. They were led by Lex Bodeker, went 4 for 6, had 6 RBIs, all of which culminated in a 3-run blast to really put the cap on that thing. But he had plenty of help. Andrew Williamson exercised amazing plate discipline. Twice found himself in full count situations with the bases loaded. Did not try to, clutch up and play aggressive, did not try to go for a power swing. He took the walk, brought the run home. So this team scores in a lot of different ways, and I think we saw that at BYU. Again, troubling conditions, especially for arms out there, but they did give up a lot of runs in this series, and that has not been characteristic of this team. So
high altitude, but she's
high altitude. Yeah. Now, and again, for what they were playing in, good for them. It's tough. I wasn't sure if this series would happen at all going to the mountains of Utah in March. It's still effectively winter. And so, it's one of those things where they did the best they could given what they were facing. And they came away with their first series win, and they're winners of 9 of their last 10. So can't do too much complaining if you're a Knights fan.
Yeah. Bryson, go ahead, because this is a team. I wanted to bring up this little nugget here. Sorry, Bryson, but UCF, if I'm not mistaken, here is the only team that's in the national top 10 in. Oh no, excuse me, UCF, Tennessee, and I think that's it. Are the only two teams, and Florida State are the only three teams in the country right now that are in the top 10 in both batting average, team batting average. UCF is second in the country in that, and earned run average allowed. UCF is ninth. Tennessee is undefeated. They're ninth in average and first in ERA. We're seeing some really interesting things happening right now, no?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, we're giving our flowers to Edion Espinal, rightfully so. I mean, he absolutely went off in this series once again, where he's had multi-hit games in all three games. But let's not forget Dylan King. Dylan King actually went on, also had quite the series as well. He had 3 RBIs in the Friday win, going 2 of 4. He didn't start in the Saturday game and we lost, but on Sunday he came back to the starting lineup and went and got 2 of 4 with a run. So you have that. Lex Bodeker, Don was giving him some flowers. He also got on base in all 3 of these games as well. We got to see a little bit of Eric Almonte, who pinch ran and got a bat in there, scored twice when hit 101 at the plate. So we got to see a little bit of him. I mean, I know we're going to talk about Edion a lot, but there are a lot of really threatening batters on this team. Andrew Williamson, 3 of 4 in the Sunday game. But the other spotlight that I want to make sure I give, Dom Stagliano actually had a good start. I don't know what about the high altitude did it, but he went 4 innings, gave up 5 hits, 2 runs, struck out 6 of the 18 batters he faced. I think that's as good of a start that he's had this entire season to this point.
Yeah, and he's really needed it. He's really needed because he's been, like his struggles to this point in the season have been pretty well documented, and but to go into that kind of a hostile environment on the road, not easy for any pitcher, and he handled his business. So, Elo, what do you see right now? Their RPI is at 40, dropped from 37. I'm looking at this RPI. It's really weird. We have North Dakota State at number 22.
Yeah, you're the metric. You love the metrics. You love the computers. You love the computers. They're never wrong, Jeffrey.
No, that's not what I say. I do say, however, that the ones that the NCAA use are wrong. They just don't know how to calculate which teams are the best that are out there. And if they would listen to the people who actually know
who's that
statistics and statistical data, they would have a better metric for this.
Like they know. If only Kyle Nash cared about stickball.
I know exactly.
Well, check actually do this. Check KPI. Because Kevin Paga, that's one of the metrics the committee uses. So see if UCF's any better there or not on that. First of all, it's very early sample in baseball, so that is I don't get caught up in RPI in baseball for another month. Remember, it's a marathon. One of the things, the reason why UCF's RPI is so low is their schedule strength. Their schedule strength, I believe, is like 114 last I checked yesterday. But again, it's early. It's going to get better as they play on the rest of the way. They do have a quad 4 loss, which was to Bryant. They did win the series, which is the good news. And again, one of the things they don't have is a marquee weekend series win. And in college baseball, you have to have marquee series win. Now, you're going to collect that when you get into Big 12 play. It just so happens BYU is not one of them, according to the metrics. But look, all that's irrelevant because their offense is clicking. You're seeing the potential that I think we all thought they would have going into the season. And then the pitching's coming around. So I think they're playing good ball. The BYU series was a fun series. It was wild. It was back and forth. It was memorable. The weather, I couldn't believe. It's a miracle they got the Saturday game. Props to the BYU folks who thought of everything because they have a warm system. They can actually warm up the turf field before they get on the field because they were
that's what Don was saying. There's
awesome.
coils underneath the field that melt any of the snow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yes. It's incredible. And that facility is gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. Only go figure, a school in Utah has a better baseball facility than a school in Florida. Who would have thunk it? But that's where we're at.
There are mountains in Utah.
Well, they took it.
Just saying.
I'm just saying. I never thought BYU is a baseball school, but boy, they certainly invested in it. So props to them. Tip of the cap to them.
School, but anyway.
Well, I'd rather have that baseball facility than the one we have. I'll tell you by a mile. So, but they won the series. That was the important thing, and that's what it matters now. You just got to win series now. You're going to play a Stetson team as we record this. Bryson's getting ready to head out to DeLand. We all know the history there. It's a rematch from last year's regional in Tallahassee when UCF ended Stetson's season. So Stetson's going to be ready for that game. I expect them to be fired up for that. And then you
fired
got
up
Houston
with their 159 RPI ranking, but go ahead.
Doesn't matter. In the midweeks, anything can happen. Then you host Houston, which it'll be alumni weekend, so that's going to be exciting for baseball. You got to win these series because the schedule for baseball, especially in the Big 12, is backloaded. So they got to get off to a good start here because it's going to get tougher as we get to the second half of the year.
All right. We talked about Houston and obviously alumni weekend. Don, what concerns do we have coming into that series in particular? This is what do we know about Houston coming in?
Well, to be honest, guys, with me having a lot going on, I can't really speak a ton to this Houston team. But again, it kind of goes back to how well is the rotation going to hold up? This is one of those things where this team has been, pounding the tables, at least during media day, saying that they needed to be better to end series. They need to be better on Sundays. So it's like, I don't have any qualms or concerns with this offense, but what are you going to get on the mound? Because all of this past weekend in Provo was a shootout, so how many times are you going to be able to be in that situation and come out on the winning end of things?
100%. Right.
So will they be able to hold this Cougars team at bay?
They've been Houston, by the way. I should mention. Sorry, Don. I apologize for putting you too far on the spot.
No, it's okay.
They're 11-7 coming in. RPI not very high. They got swept in their first conference series at home by Texas Tech, 4-1, 13-8, and then 11-1 in 8 innings. So, they play Sam Houston today, actually, March 18th. A doubleheader actually take against Sam Houston before they come here to UCF. So, and by the way, their RPI 170 right now. So, I'll take it. It's right around
Stetson. That's why you got to win the series.
Yeah, right around Stetson territory. I would love to see us get the brooms out against those guys. So, I'm fine with that. All right, now let's hop over to softball. Eric Lopez. So, coming off of the 2 out of 3 at Arizona, riding a little high, the Knights have come back to earth a little bit. Lost 3-0 at Florida in a game where they had a shot. They had a few shots, especially in the final frame. And then lost 2 out of 3 at home to Arizona State. Got shut out in the opener. Run ruled them on Saturday, and then lost 7-4 in the rubber game on Sunday. No midweek this week. They play Iowa State at home on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. What's going on here? Causes for concern right now in softball land.
No. I think first of all,
Arizona you're not State, concerned. I'm fine.
Arizona State's very good. In fact, they're going to be. I think they're ranked in the D1 softball poll that just came out. They might be ranked. We'll see if they're ranked in other polls or not, but they're good. They're 26 in the RPI. They have one of the best pitchers in the country in Kenzie Brown. So we had to deal with her twice, shorthanded without Sierra Humphreys, who is out with an undisclosed injury, from what I understand, should be back for Iowa State. That's the good news there. So all things considered, yeah, you're disappointed. You lost the series, especially the Sunday game where you kind of played a sloppy game, 3 errors. Coach Paul Malone was livid. and frustrated. If anybody watched the in-game interview on Sunday could see that. So, but that's going to happen with youth. And, I think that was kind of the result on that. But no, I'm not too panicky yet because the resume is still good. And again, you did take a game. You didn't get swept. And if you would have told me in January that they would be 3-3 in the Big 12 starting out at Arizona and then hosting Arizona State, I would have taken that. It's just a little backwards how it played out. But nonetheless, it's still quality games. That's the beauty of playing in a power conference. It's not a mid-major. Remember Jeffrey used to make fun of all the quality losses and we mocked it, all that. Well, now we understand what they meant. It was the truth. This was quality losses. And Bryson saw one of them as well against a national title contender in Florida earlier in the week in Gainesville. So that is why I'm not concerned about it. The only thing is, they have to get healthy, obviously, get Humphreys back. That's one thing I definitely learned. They are a different team without Sierra Humphrey. She is an energy player. I think she's their best all-around hitter and player. So she sets the tone for them at times, and I think they could have made a difference Friday, Sunday. But, she was banged up, and you don't want it. It's a long season. You can't take chances there. So I think that's one thing, and they got to clean up some things. There's no question. They've got to clean up their defense a little bit. That is a bit of a concern, but not too big. But again, Arizona State's very good. Kenzie Brown's one of the best pitchers in the country they dealt with. And now you're 3-3. You're 25 in the RPI, 8th toughest schedule in the country. So you're in 7 top 50 wins. So you've put yourself in a position here to make the tournament if you take care of business. Yeah. Now they got to clean up the areas that I mentioned. They got to clean up. But now you've got Iowa State at home, and I think the thing that Coach Baumalo is frustrated with is you got to protect the Plex. That's the message to the young players. They didn't do that. They got to do that this weekend against Iowa State on Alumni Weekend. They're going to be celebrating Alumni Weekend just like baseball as well. So this is a big weekend for them from that standpoint, because after that, you host Florida coming to Orlando to UCF. That's going to be a tough test. Then you go on the road for the next couple of weeks, going, I believe, to Baylor and then Oklahoma, who's still undefeated. So it's going to this is a very important home weekend to take care of business and keep the positive trend here. You got to win this series moving to continue this positive season so far going.
On the positive note, and Bryson, I think you're probably going to touch on this. They had their shots against Florida, especially in the 7th. They were able to get something. They were able to get a rally going. And then Humphrey struck out swinging to end the game, but she was the tying run at the plate. And it looked like, we were about to get something going off of that. They had opportunities in the 5th. They had opportunities in the 4th. They just couldn't get the job done. Bryson, what do you see here from this team as they get ready for this big stretch here in conference play? With Iowa State coming to town?
It's the trappings of youth. You have the downs of inexperience, but the highs of raw talent. You saw that against Florida, where you have Yesenia Lopez, who I think pitched a mostly very great game.
I thought she pitched well too. She did a good job keeping UCF in, keeping us in the game.
Yeah, the problem is that she just ended up going against 2 preseason All-SEC contenders on a national title contender, and they got her for home runs to go up 2-0. So that definitely did not help matters. And then, of course, talked about the offensive woes, going 3-0 there. That's definitely something I think Coach Ball Malone would want to try to, curb a little bit. I think if there's one issue, honestly, I think it is the offense, where they could just, even if they get on base, they're not really turning them into runs. Both UCF and Florida equal each other with 4 hits, mind you. So I think that there's that aspect to it.
Left 7 on base in that game. Left 7 on base. That's been a frustrating
7 on 1. Yeah, exactly. Then you got Arizona State. Caitlin Felton had a solid, had a fairly solidly pitched game in that one as well. You have Isabella Vega, of course, once again proving why I think she's the best pitcher on the roster right now, because even with Yesenia Lopez there, because she absolutely just sat down Arizona State on Saturday. And then you have Yesenia coming back, and this is, again, the trappings of youth. Yesenia, great game against a national title contender like Florida, but then Arizona State comes to town, and you have her giving up the 3 hits on 4 or 3 runs on 3 hits.
Defense didn't help her. Defense did not help her at all. In fairness to her, defense did not help. There was an error that gave led to the first run. There were some plays that were not made. In fairness to her on that.
Yeah, now
They got to come off of that thinking like, man, we left that one on the table.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah. But remember the last time that they had a bad loss though was Georgia Southern. They're immediately right after that is when they went to Arizona and beat the Wildcats. Now the Sun Devils are in the mid-20s RPI, just like UCF is. So these are I would say these are very equal teams in terms of where they are in the RPI.
Yeah. Yes.
Now Iowa State is 89 in the RPI. So I think that this one is a much more of a winnable series than Arizona State is. And you outlined this, Eric. This is a series that you need to win in order to stay, I think, keep yourself going in the Big 12 conversation. I think the series you got to look out for: Iowa State, Baylor, 85, and then Utah. I don't know if we play Utah, but
no, we do not play Utah. Do not play Utah. They go to Oklahoma for a non-conference weekend on their bye week.
Got it. Okay. Well, but Iowa State and Baylor are the only teams in the Big 12 that we will face this season that have an RPI higher than 50.
As of now, as of now.
So worse than 50. It could change, you're right. BYU and Kansas are certainly hovering right there. But as of today, as of March 18, 2024, that is where it stands right now. So Iowa State and Baylor, very crucial series going forward. And like you said, protect the Plex. Because if you can't, then and you only play up and play down to your opponent, then that's where doubt can sneak in.
Well, that's the 1,000%. You just nailed it. With a young team, you can't take any game for granted. You got. And Iowa State has players. Angelina Allen is a Big 12 all outfielder. They're capable of beating you. Iowa State took a game from UCF last year, run ruled them, in fact, in Ames, Iowa last year. So they're not a pushover. And again, that's going to be a tough series. I'm actually going to talk to Coach Pinkerton here in about a few minutes after this, shortly after, a little bit after this segment, because I had a conference call with him to get ready for the Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. Make a note of that.
Yep.
But yeah, protect the Plex there. By the way, Bryson, did you enjoy KSP there in Gainesville? What was the facilities like over there, Bryson Turner?
It was well done. It's actually really funny because I actually wanted to spend a lot of my time outside the press box because you can walk around the entire facility. Like you could walk around the entire field and get different shots. If you go on the Black and Gold Banneret Instagram page, by the way, I actually posted a compilation of some of the photos that I took from all around the facility.
Fantastic photos.
It is one of the most photogenic softball facilities I have ever seen. It is quite amazing. I would spend a lot of time outside there. Press box was great. It's spacious and all that. It's just that the place that I ended up sitting just didn't have a good look at the field. So
almost as photogenic as the Plex, if you ask me, especially at sunset.
Donnie, other schools have good facilities in baseball and softball. Imagine that.
No comment, Elo.
No.
I plead the fifth on this one.
Softball 24th in the RPI, 20-11 overall, and again, coming up with that weekend series. Elo, you're going to be doing all 3, right?
Where else? What else am I going to be doing? Come on,
hey,
that's a no-brainer, baby. Yeah, no, listen. It'll be me and Alex Powers. Alumni weekend. I want to mention for both baseball and softball, big weekends from an alumni standpoint. Softball will be honoring the 2005 team on Friday night's game.
Yes.
Lindsay Enders will throw out the first pitch, from what I understand.
No way.
2000, and then Saturday, 12 p.m. game, they're going to honor the 2015 UCF team. Mackenzie Audis, Shelby Turnier will be throwing out the first pitch there. I'm going to have an article on coming up here by the time you listen to this, maybe the next day or so. This is also the 20th season of the Plex. I'll list the 20 games of UCF games at the Plex. Baseball alumni weekend. They got a golf event going on this weekend. Friday, from what I understand, I've been told they're going to honor the 1995 team, 30-year anniversary of that team. And then in Saturday night's game, which I'm planning to attend, they're going to honor the 2000, 2001, and 2002 teams will be honored in that game, from what I have been told. The great Jay Bergman will be in attendance, from what I've been told. A lot of alums are going to be there. as well. Bryson and I have been working on a project here that we're going to unveil now that's going to come out later this week. In fact, one of the reasons I'm groggy, Bryson somehow is very prepped and peppy and got good energy. We stayed up till 4 a.m. working on this, but we're going to have a list of the all-time. This is Jeffrey, the 40th year of UCF baseball as a Division I member. Did you know that?
Yeah, that's true. 40 years in D1.
40-year anniversary. The first year was 85. So Bryson and I will have a 40 all-time 40-man roster of UCF baseball.
I like it.
For the
40 for 40.
40 for 40. And then we're also going to have a timeline of some of the most memorable and historical and impactful games in the 40 years in Division I baseball. Both of those pieces it's all chronological timeline, which we're hopefully to have out later this week prior to the Houston series. So check it, blackandgoldbanneret.com. Trust me, we stayed up till 4 a.m. for most of this, and we're still finalizing some stuff. So make sure you check those articles that are features. They're going to be coming out this week.
Folks, so I can't stop them. I can only hope to contain them. Go ahead, Bryson.
Hey, look, for anyone that listens to this and reads this article and say, oh, this person is wrong, keep in mind, we stayed up till 4 a.m. looking at this stuff. You can say that
we
this
do
is our
it
opinion,
so you don't have to.
you can say that it's just our opinion, but it is a very informed opinion, and we will stress that.
Yes, we did. And by the way, for the timeline chronological games, we will have quotes in there from Jay Bergman exclusively, Greg Lovelady, Terry Rooney, and Rich Wallace. What do they all have in common? Well, they're all the head coaches in the Division I era there. Yep. We'll also have a quote from Jason Arnold in there, among other players, as well as the voice of UCF baseball, Mark Daniels. We'll have a quote in there as well.
All right. Wow. God, that's a lot. I'm looking forward to Alumni Weekend. That's going to be fun. All right. Let's wrap it up here with some good stuff that we want to talk about. Tennis. Bryson, I know you were all capsing on the group text about this when we saw this. Sunday, UCF beats number 10 Arizona 4-3 in men's tennis. Coming off of the loss 4-2 to number 2 TCU, the team had lost 2 straight. They lost to South Florida 6-1 in the prior match. This is a big one, and we're in the middle of this Big 12 stretch right now. And wow, that was they needed that one, and they got it.
Yes, this is a spring season of bounce backs for UCF sports. It just seems like whenever there's a loss we shouldn't have gotten, they come back even stronger than before. With men's tennis, what a thriller. With Arizona, that's the 3rd win against a top 10 opponent this season. They've never beaten a top 10 team coming into this season, and now this season alone they have 3. So you have the winning the doubles point, which is amazing. Liam Branger and Paul Collin have very much, I think, found a groove together. The 2 Frenchmen, they were leading against the number 65 TCU team. They won the doubles point against the number 2 ranked TCU team, by the way. And then, of course, the Knights got to get the doubles point, which was crucial because they needed all the room that they could get for Liam Branger to beat number 60 Zoran Ladowski, 60 team ranked player in the country. But Mehdi Benchikroun is the man of the hour. He ended up defeating the number 9 ranked player in the country, Jay Friend, in 3 sets and a set tiebreaker while nursing a leg cramp.
Yeah.
Well, you can watch him.
Shout out to Blaze Schwartz. I remember back in the day, he beat USF on a leg cramp. Same situation, right?
Yes. You can look on the KnightShift YouTube channel where I talked to both Lloyd Bruce Burgess and Mehdi about the game. You'll notice that I interviewed them in different places because we want to make sure Mehdi didn't have to walk too far to do that. But Lloyd talked about how they were actually playing strategically to get Mehdi to the set tiebreaker so they can avoid a full body cramp. It was quite amazing tennis to watch, especially against a top 10 individual player in the country. So absolutely well done against the number 10 ranked team. We'll see where the standings are at. We'll see where the standings are in the ITA, but of course things won't get any easier. They go on the road. So that will be fun to watch there. UCF 11th in the nation. That just came out today. 11th in the nation.
Oh, just came out. Okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah, that just came out.
Well, they're at BYU on Friday on the 21st. They're doing the Utah swing at BYU Friday, at Utah Sunday before they come home for Baylor on Thursday, April 3rd. And pretty good break.
That is significant news that Bryson just broke there, being ranked 11th. That puts you in position.
Highest ever, I think, right?
We have to look back to 2021.
Double
check that. That men's team 21 was highly ranked. They hosted, and that was kind of the parallel. If you're in the top 11, you're in good position to be a host, at least for the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. That is a significant number. That's why this past weekend was critical. Bryson and I spoke to Coach Burgess last week in preparation. Obviously, the TCU number 2 in the country, but to get a split in the TCU Arizona, they've put themselves in the position not only from a Big 12 championship there to be in the mix, but also from a hosting standpoint. They are in position to host. This is a talented, deep roster that should be watched very closely. This is a team that could host the first couple rounds like they did in 2021. So props to the tennis program. That's a big development there. That's where you want to stay ranked. If you're in that ballpark range, you're going to host. And let's be honest, the NCAA won't be too disappointed about a school hosting at the USTA Center in Lake Nona, which is as good of a facility as it gets. As negative as I've been about the last previous segments on facilities, no complaints about the tennis facilities, baby. We got the best tennis facilities in the country.
Highest ranking in program history was 9, by the way.
9?
21, right? 2021.
Yeah,
yes.
They're right on the cusp of it. They could probably get there with a couple wins this weekend out on the road. Meanwhile, the women's team, they just keep mowing everybody down. 14-1, 10-0 at home, 6-0 in the Big 12. They have won. Look at this. In the 6-0, they all 6 teams in the Big 12 that they've beaten have all been ranked. 4 of them in the top 40, Bryson, and including a win over Kansas on Sunday and Iowa State last Friday. Now they head out on the road to Boulder to play Colorado, and then at number 14, Texas Tech on next Sunday. Friday, Colorado, Sunday, Texas Tech. That's going to be a big one. But the women's team, man, they're still rolling.
Yeah, they're just like softball. They're a young team with a lot of talent on their side. Olivia Linster took over on court 1, great job. Ione court 2, excellent as well. They actually moved up to number 17, by the way. UCF women's moved up to 17. They stick right there. They've stuck there. And yeah, I think this is going to be their biggest test yet, is going on the road to Lubbock to play number 14 Texas Tech, because I think that those Red Raiders are their biggest obstacle between them and like the regular season title, I think.
And Texas Tech is the highest ranked Big 12 team in the ITA too. So
yes, they were home against Baylor. Baylor was a very highly ranked team, 15 when they played them, but that was at the USTA national campus. This is playing the number 14 ranked team at their house. So they've already beaten Oklahoma State on the road. That's certainly a tough task. But I think this is also going to be a very tough one as well. And they're definitely going to be trying to preserve their lead in the Big 12 conference, because they're the last undefeated Big 12 team in conference play.
Yeah, well, so we're going to catch more of that on the nightcap as well, that Bryson always works so hard on. But hopefully we'll have to get some sleep before then, as he and Eric have been working very hard on that 40 for 40 baseball feature that we will be seeing later this week as well. Shout out to the student of the game, Kyle Nash, who's working hard on Big 12 Pro Day stuff. He and I are going to get together a little bit later next week on the Night Shift YouTube channel to talk about UCF players at the Big 12 Pro Days as well. Elo is going to be doing play-by-play on ESPN Plus this weekend as well. And then Bryson and Don, enjoy some time off. I know you will be quite as well. And then, by the way, shout out to my son Connor. He turns 11. So
happy birthday!
Proud of Connor. He's, he's really something, and love him to death. And I wanted to get that out there. So
we're getting old. He's 11.
We are getting old. I know.
Oh, 11.
11.
I remember him as
I know. Well, I'm
He's gonna be driving soon at this.
I'm not sending his tape to Coach Calabrese just yet. Okay, I'm not yet. But I know that day is going to be coming way sooner than I think. All right. Guys, thank you so much. It's been a privilege. Eric, Don, Bryson, great job as always. For those of you who want to follow us, please do on our YouTube channel, KnightShift UCF on YouTube. Follow all of our written content at blackandgoldbanneret.com. We are also at Black and Gold Banneret on Threads and Instagram and Facebook, on X at UCF_SBN, and of course on Blue Sky, UCFBanneret.bsky.social. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Night Shift for Eric, Don, and Bryson. I'm Jeff. Go Knights. Charge on. We'll see you.